My name is Jane Nozzolillo, and I wrote this story for two children that live, I won't say where they live, but they live close by to Sutton, and they desperately want a dog. And this is a story of what might happen if they got the dog. It's called The $27.32 Dog. My name is Haley. I'm 10 years old and I live in a small town in Massachusetts with my mother, father, and my brother Owen, who is 12. We are not there now because we are at my favorite place in the whole wide world, Old Orchard Beach, Maine. We are staying at a wonderful motel called the Atlantic, and its backyard is the ocean. This is our last day here, and it's cold and damp, and it looks like it might even rain, so going to the beach will never happen. My mom and dad are watching TV. Owen and I walked out of the motel parking lot and stood on the sidewalk just for something to do. "There is no one out today," said Owen. "Here comes somebody, and he has a dog with him," I said. "A dog? A real dog?" Owen said. "A dog, a real dog." "Yes, Owen, he has 4 legs and a tail." "Hey, mister, can I pat your dog?" Owen asked. "Owen, don't call him mister, he's only a teenager," I corrected him. The teenager and the dog stopped in front of us. "Sure, kid, help yourself. Crazy dog." I was sitting on the bench up the street there having a delicious breakfast sandwich, and along comes this mutt. He made such a fuss that I ended up giving him half of my sandwich, and now I can't get rid of him. "What are you going to do with him?" asked Owen. "I think I might sell him." "You can't sell him. You don't own him," I yelled. The teenager looked at me with a scowl on his face. "Haven't you ever heard of finders keepers?" "How much are you going to sell it for?" "I have some money," said Owen. "How much money do you have?" "I have $27.32. You know, that's exactly what I'm asking for him." "I'll go get my money," said Owen. He dashed by me like a flash and was in and out of the motel room before I caught up with him. In his hand was a glass jar which held his precious savings. "Owen, you brought your money with you on vacation?" I asked. "Yes, I didn't want anyone to steal it while we're gone. It's so lucky that I did because I can now buy that dog." "You can't. Listen to me, Owen. I'm going to get Mommy and Dad." He didn't listen. Instead, he ran up to the teenager and handed him the glass jar. "Thanks, kid. Hold on to his collar until I get out of sight." I ran back to the motel room and burst through the door. "Mama, Dad, come outside right now." "Has something happened to Owen?" my mother screamed. "Sort of. He's not hurt or anything like that, but you have to come outside." The 3 of us ran out the door, and there stood Owen in the middle of the parking lot holding the dog by his collar. "Mama, Dad, I bought a dog." "You did what?" yelled my mother. I brought the money I was saving for a dog with me, and this guy was selling this dog, and I bought it." "He wasn't a guy, he was a teenager, and he didn't even own it. He just found it," I said. "Well, you can't keep him," said my mother. "Will everyone calm down?" said my father. "Owen, keep a tight hold on that dog. I have a piece of rope in my trunk that I think we can use as a leash." My father was right. The rope worked fine. "We just can't let the dog go loose. Yesterday I took a walk and I noticed there was an animal hospital over on the next street. I think we should all go there and see if the vet can help," said my father. "We're not keeping that dog, and I mean it," said my mother. "As I said, we are just going over and talk with the vet," my father said. My father took the dog from Owen and started walking, and we all followed. I looked at Owen, and he looked like he was going to cry. When we arrived at the vet's office, no one was there except a woman at a desk. "May I help you?" she asked. I was wondering if the doctor has any free time, said my father. She looked at us and then down at the dog. I'm sure he will find the time. Oh, my goodness! She grabbed the phone and punched in a number. Dr. Jordan, please come out here right away. A door opened down the hall, and within a few seconds, a man wearing a white coat was standing in the waiting room. Isn't that Ralph? She screamed, pointing at the dog. It sure is, said the doctor. Ralph, you bad boy. The whole town's been looking for you. He looked up at my dad. Where did you find him? It's a long story, and I'm sure you want to check out Ralph, said my father. The vet looked at him and nodded. You can tell me all about it. In the meantime, I think your family would be more comfortable in my office. It's the first door on the left. Okay, Ralph, let's have a look at you. My father and the vet and Ralph disappeared down the hallway, and we moved into the office. Owen looked so miserable. I felt so sorry for him. He sat on the couch and put his hands over his face. Owen, don't feel bad. I want a dog almost as bad as you do, and we will get one someday. I want Ralph, said Owen. I don't think you can have him. I think he belongs to somebody. I could see that he was almost going to cry, so I went over and sat next to him on the couch and put my arms around him. My mother came and sat on the other side, and we all hugged together. I don't know how long we were hugging, but suddenly the office door opened, and my father, the vet, and Ralph walked in. Ralph is fine. I spoke with the owner, Mrs. Haywood, and she will be here in a few minutes. Well, I guess we can leave then, said my mother. Please wait. Mrs. Haywood really wants to talk to all of you. Of course we can wait, said my father. I noticed he did not look at my mother when he said that. The vet left to take care of some of his patients, and we all sat in silence, waiting for Ralph's owner. Finally, the door opened, and an old lady with a cane came in. Ralph barked and ran towards her, jumping up and down and making funny little noises. The lady bent down and gave Ralph a kiss on his head and a big hug. Ralph, you bad dog, look at all the trouble you made. She then looked at us. Let me introduce myself. I'm Mrs. Haywood. I'm also known as Ralph's mother. I could see that there were tears in her eyes. So nice to meet you, Mrs. Haywood, said my father. He jumped up and took her hand, and then introduced her to all of us. I could see the tears running down her face as she wiped them away with a handkerchief. Please have a seat, said my mother. No, but thanks anyway. I think what I have to say will be easier if I stand. I always had a dog in my life. In fact, when my husband was alive, we sometimes had 2 or 3 dogs. So 2 years ago, I bought a puppy and named him Ralph. I should have known I was too old. He needs someone to play catch with and take him on long walks. I can't do that. So that is why I want to give Ralph to you. Nobody said anything. I expected my mother to jump up and say, thank you very much, but we can't take Ralph. Instead, she got up and hugged Mrs. Haywood, who was now sobbing. We'll take good care of him, and we want to keep in touch with you. I was hoping you would say that, said Mrs. Haywood. She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small card, which she handed to my mother. Here's my address and phone number. My father now stood up and gave Mrs. Haywood a hug. Did you come by yourself? He asked. No, I came with a friend. She's waiting outside. Now Mrs. Haywood came and spoke to Owen and me. Owen and Haley, both our wishes have come true. You were wishing for a dog, and my wish was that Ralph would find someone to love him. While she was talking to us, Ralph had come around and stood next to her. She turned around and bent down and kissed him on his head. Well, my dear buddy, it's time to say goodbye. I know you will have a good life. She gave Ralph one last hug and quickly ran out the door. The vet came back into the office and smiled at us. I understand this family is now the proud owner of Ralph, he said, laughingly. We are, said my father. Well, let me tell you my plan. said the vet. I think we should keep Ralph right here overnight. When are you going home? Tomorrow morning, said my father. That will work out just perfectly. How much will it cost? Asked my father. No charge. I just love happy endings. On the way back to the motel, Owen spoke to my mother. Mama, thank you for letting me keep Ralph. You and Haley are going to be responsible for that dog, she said firmly. We know, Mama. We know, I told her. The next day we were almost out of the driveway of the motel when I let out a scream. Here comes that teenager who took Owen's money. My father stopped the car and rolled down the window. The teenager ran up to us. I'm so glad I caught you yesterday. Yesterday I did a very bad thing. I took money from this kid. He pointed to Owen. My only excuse is that I'm going to college next month, and boy, do I need money. Owen jumped out of the car, and the teenager handed him the jar. No, you keep the money, said Owen. It was to buy a dog, and now we have one. Where is the dog? He's at the vet. The dog that followed you belonged to an old lady, and she can't take care of him anymore, so she gave it to us. So you keep the money. Owen got back in the car, and my father started up the car. I said, let's go get Ralph.